It's been a while since Nile Niami's name has come up in headlines, which has kind of been okay with me because, let's face it, we had a pretty long stretch of news where his 105,000 square foot, $500 million spec mansion, famously nicknamed The One, got to the final stages of completion before ultimately selling at bankruptcy auction for just $141 million to Fashion Nova CEO Richard Sagian. Nile's name has come up again though because one of his former Bel Air mega mansions was just relisted for sale for $63.5 million. With it nestled in one of the best parts of Lower Bel Air, this 15,000 square foot mansion was originally built and sold by Nile Niami way back in 2012 for just under $25 million. And there's a surprising amount of history and drama associated with this property since he sold it that actually has nothing to do with Nile. In today's episode, let's dive into the details. Now, before we get into the drama and the whole history, let's take a look at the house together first, just to give you guys a visual of what we're talking about here. First of all, as far as the location is concerned, this home, like I said at the beginning, is sitting on a premier lot in Bel Air, California at 755 Sarbonne Road, which might sound familiar for anybody who follows the luxury real estate scene out there, and that is because this house is located immediately next door to 777 Sarbonne Road, the home that cosmetic surgeon Alex Khadavi built, which was recently auctioned off for just under 50 million bucks. Anyways, the house itself has 6 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms, is of course hillside, so it offers some of the best unobstructed views of the city and ocean as you can get. And even though Nile Niami built the house in 2012 along with his go-to architect Paul McClean, the property was recently completely remodeled by a group called Plus Design Studio, and through that renovation, they totally overhauled this place. According to Plus Design's website, they reimagined the home using warm and organic materials. They took classic elements and repositioned them in different environments throughout the home, and they maintained the open layout that the house already had, which leads you seamlessly from one space in the house to the next, allowing you to enjoy the views through huge walls of windows in every room. As far as amenities are concerned, the house is loaded with all of the typical Nile Niami features, including a cigar lounge, a wine cellar, a theater room, an infinity pool, and a wellness center. It's honestly pretty impressive that Nile was incorporating all of this stuff in his spec homes way back in 2012. I mean, all these features are pretty common nowadays, but that was pretty forward thinking for 2012, at least for a spec build anyway. Now that we're up to speed on how this awesome house looks nowadays, let's dive into what happened to this place after Nile sold it. If you look at the sales history here, we have the home originally listed for sale on September 28th, 2011 for just under 35 million bucks. After a big price reduction, it finally sold in April of 2012 for 24.5 million. At this time, the buyer was a Nigerian energy businessman named Kola Aluka. More on him here in a minute. Seeing a $10 million price cut to Nile's original ask seems pretty intense, but it is common for these spec developers out there in California to shoot for the moon with their initial sales price. So even though Nile only sold this place for 25 million bucks back in 2012, something tells me he still did all right on the deal, especially because construction costs were a heck of a lot cheaper back then. Anywho, back to the price history, you can see that after this guy Kola Aluka bought the house for $24.5 million back in 2012, he went on to sell it 4 years later for just $21.5 million, meaning that after commissions and everything, he lost well over $3 million on this deal. Why though, might you ask, would this wildly successful businessman sell this trophy property out here in Bel Air for a several $million-dollar loss just a few years after he bought it? Well, that is where the story gets even more interesting. Now, as far as why Aluka sold the property for a loss, the story simply just boils down to him needing to repay for some exclusive services that he received on one of VistaJet's private airplanes. So he sold the mega mansion to the CEO of that VistaJet company, Thomas Floor. Now, what happened after the sale of this house to Thomas Floor is crazy because a few years after the sale, Kola Aluka was accused of corruption in the way that he made a lot of his money. And they said that the roughly $150 million worth of real estate and yachts that he purchased were basically purchased with ill-gotten gains. The Department of Justice ended up getting involved and stated that Aluka allegedly conspired with other people and made bribes to win oil contracts valued at around $1.5 billion. And as a result, the U.S. Department of Justice Money Laundering and Asset Recovery aimed to seize yachts, luxury apartments, and even 755 Sarbonne Road, and a federal asset forfeiture. They said in the filing that since Sarbonne was supposedly purchased with illegal activity money, that they had the right to seize the property, and that was possibly along with 3 other mega mansions that Aluko bought out in Santa Barbara and Beverly Hills. Now you guys are probably thinking exactly what I'm thinking at this point. Why does the DOJ have the right to confiscate a property when the man accused doesn't even own that property anymore? Well, it turns out that the buyer Thomas Floor's company, VistaJet, is actually a business collaboration with Aluko. So the DOJ initially put this property on their radar due to them thinking that since Aluko and the buyer Thomas Floor were close business associates, then this property could have been part of the scandal. The civil lawsuit went on to say that the buyer should have known the mansion would be subject to forfeiture because of the relationship with Aluko and the news articles suspecting Aluko of money laundering. Now, I'm no lawyer, and speaking to complex legal issues is definitely way outside of my wheelhouse, but that just seems weird to me that the DOJ is saying that the buyer should have known. I mean, I have bought a ton of real estate over my lifetime, and I have never considered whether or not the seller of any given property was under criminal investigation before I bought a deal. Although, now that I think about it, maybe I should be considering that. Anyway, good news for the seller though, because after his heavy renovation that we looked at the start of this episode, the court settlement has finally cleared the way for him to list 755 Sarbonne Road for sale for $63.5 million. What a relief for the seller, but it will be an even bigger relief if he actually finds a buyer, because the neighbor mega mansion at 777 Sarbonne Road, just selling for $46 million a few months back, is definitely not a good comp for this house. That's a wrap for today's episode, guys. If you liked the video, hit that like button down below before you go, or leave a comment. That really helps the channel out a lot. And remember to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I'm putting new videos just like this one out every week, but that's all I've got for you guys this time. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see ya.